Maria Khan kept her head down as she clutched the slightly crumpled cream-colored envelope in her hand. It had no sender's name, only a neat golden seal pressed at the back, clearly something expensive, something important, something that did not belong to her world. She had found it the night before, while cleaning the VIP lounge at the Meridian Towers, Karachi's most extravagant hotel and business hub, where the wealthy behaved as if the marble floors and gold-plated railings were extensions of their egos. She worked there as a janitor, barely making enough to care for her bedridden mother and younger brother. Her days were long, her nights longer, but she never complained. Survival didn't leave her time for complaints. The envelope had slipped out from under a velvet cushion where executives often lounged, sipping thousand-rupee coffees while she swept around their feet. She could have ignored it. She could have dropped it into the lost-and-found box and walked away like everyone expected her to. But the seal, something about it seemed urgent. And Maria had always been the kind of person who returned what wasn't hers, even when life never returned her the same kindness. So now, early the next morning, she stood outside an office on the 29th floor, the kind of place where even standing near the door made her feel guilty for breathing too much oxygen. A golden nameplate read, Zayd Hassan, Chairman and CEO, Hassan Global Finance. The man was one of the richest in the country, known for ruthless deals, known for mocking anyone he considered beneath him, known for the smug smile he wore in every newspaper photo. Maria knocked. A voice inside boomed, "Enter." She did. Zayd Hassan sat behind a massive black desk, wearing a navy suit so sharp it looked like it could cut glass. He didn't look up at first, just waved his hand dismissively, already annoyed by the interruption. "Make it quick. I don't need anything cleaned right now." Maria swallowed. "Sir, I'm not here for cleaning. I'm just returning this envelope. I found it in the VIP lounge after the board meeting yesterday. It looked important." She held it out carefully with both hands, as if the thing were holy. Zayd finally looked at her. Then he leaned back in his leather chair and laughed. A cold, echoing laugh. "You," he said, "you expect me to believe you found something that belongs to anyone important. My dear, if you wanted money, you should have just said so. There are easier ways to beg." Maria stiffened. "I'm not begging, sir, I'm simply—" "Returning an envelope," he interrupted mockingly. "Yes, yes, I heard you the first time." He took it from her fingers and flipped it open without care. Inside was a single document, some kind of property deed with numbers she didn't understand. His expression shifted briefly, but then the smirk returned. "So you thought you'd be a hero, hoping I'd reward you with a generous tip, perhaps." "No, sir. I only wanted to return whomever it belonged to." "It belongs to me now." He tossed the envelope onto the desk. "It was left in my lounge in my building. You returning it changes nothing." Maria blinked. "But sir, I thought maybe someone—" "Oh, please," he snapped. "You think billion-dollar documents just get lost? Even if it wasn't mine, what could you know about it? A cleaner. A girl who probably hasn't held anything worth more than 5,000 rupees in her life." Her face flushed hot with humiliation, but she held her ground. "Sir, it's not about money. It's about doing the right thing." "And the right thing," he said, standing, towering over her, "is for people like you to stay in your lane." He lifted the envelope between two fingers like a piece of trash. "Next time you find something expensive, leave it where it is. You returning it won't impress anyone." Maria pressed her lips together. "I wasn't trying to impress anyone." "Of course you were," he said, walking around his desk. "People like you always hope for a miracle, a little reward, a little pity." He laughed again. Maria looked away, biting the inside of her cheek. She needed this job. She couldn't afford to talk back. "I'm sorry for the disturbance, sir," she whispered. "I'll go." She turned toward the door. She was almost out when a deep, Unfamiliar voice echoed from the hallway. Is this where I can recover the envelope I misplaced? Zaid froze. Maria froze. And a tall man stepped through the doorway, broad-shouldered, dressed in a charcoal suit more expensive than anything in the room. His presence was commanding, controlled, and unmistakable. The kind of man whose name appeared in financial newspapers, international magazines. The kind of man even billionaires feared. Maria recognized him instantly. Arman Malik, owner of Malik Enterprises, one of the most powerful investors in Asia, and the rightful owner of the envelope. The room's atmosphere changed in an instant. Zaid's face drained of color. Maria turned slowly. Arman's sharp eyes landed first on her, tired eyes but honest ones, and then on the envelope in Zaid's hand. He raised a brow. Interesting, Arman said. I wonder how you ended up holding something that belongs to me. He stepped forward, his voice turning colder. And I wonder what this young woman had to do with returning it. Maria's heart thudded in her chest. Zaid swallowed. Suddenly, the millionaire wasn't laughing anymore. And Maria, who had simply tried to return an envelope, found herself in the center of a storm she never saw coming. Silence crushed the office. Zaid Hassan straightened his suit, trying to regain the authority that had evaporated the moment Arman Malik walked in. But the twitch in his jaw, the stiffness in his neck, everything screamed panic. Arman, I didn't expect you so soon, he stammered. Arman ignored him completely, turning instead toward Maria. His expression softened, the sharp lines of his face gentling as he looked at her. You returned it, he asked. Maria blinked, unsure how to respond. I found it in the lounge, sir. I didn't know who it belonged to, but I thought it looked important, so I came to return it. Zaid forced a laugh, too loud, too fake. Yes, she brought it here, he cut in quickly. I was just about to have my assistant locate you. You know how careless the cleaning staff can be, always picking up things they shouldn't. Good thing I was here to ensure it didn't get misplaced further. Maria felt the sting of those words, but Arman's eyes narrowed, as if he had caught the lie instantly. Is that so? Arman asked quietly. Zaid nodded eagerly. Absolutely. I keep everything under control around here. That's interesting, Arman murmured, because the security footage I checked downstairs showed something entirely different. Zaid's smile faltered. Maria blinked. Security footage. Arman reached into his coat and pulled out his phone. He tapped the screen once, then held it out. A video played. It was the VIP lounge, empty except for Maria sweeping the floor. She lifted the cushion. The envelope slid out. She picked it up carefully, inspected it, then tucked it safely into her bag. Zaid wasn't even in the room. Arman paused the video. She didn't rummage through anything that wasn't hers, he said coldly. She didn't open it. She simply found it, protected it, and returned it at the earliest opportunity. Maria felt heat rise behind her eyes, not from humiliation this time, but from an unexpected wave of validation. Arman turned toward Zaid now, his voice ablaze. But you, he said, stepping closer, accepted the envelope and claimed it as your own. Zaid chuckled nervously. Arman, come on, you know me. I was only keeping it safe. I didn't know it was yours. That document, Arman said calmly, is the deed to a major land purchase in Gwadar. It's worth billions. You, of all people, know exactly how significant it is. Zaid's throat bobbed as he swallowed. Arman's next words were colder still. And yet you mocked the woman who returned it, accused her of begging, called her a thief. Maria felt herself shrink at the memory. Zaid stepped forward too quickly. It was a misunderstanding. She's staff. They exaggerate. You know how these people are. Arman's jaw tightened. These people, he repeated quietly. Zaid realized his mistake too late. Arman, I only meant. You meant, Armand said, voice lethal, that because she cleans floors, you assumed she had no integrity. Zaid exhaled shakily. Armand, let's not turn this into something dramatic. But Armand wasn't listening. He turned back to Maria. What's your name? He asked gently. Maria, she whispered. Maria Khan. Maria, he repeated like it mattered. Thank you for returning what didn't belong to you, even when you had no reason to. People underestimate honesty, especially when it comes from someone who gains nothing by giving it. Zaid quickly interjected, desperation creeping into his voice. She's been looking for ways to win favor. I was just trying to guide her. You know how these workers can be. Armand's stare hardened instantly. Enough. The single word hit the room like thunder. Then Armand turned again, this time fully, decisively toward Maria. Did he mistreat you? He asked plainly. Maria hesitated. She needed her job. Her mother's medicines depended on it. Her brother's school fees depended on it. Speaking up against the chairman could destroy everything. But lying would dishonor her principles, the very principles that brought her here. So she said the truth. He laughed at me, she said quietly. He said people like me look for pity, that I wanted money. Something dark flickered across Armand's features. Then he turned to Zaid. You laughed at her? He asked, voice low. Zaid lifted his hands. Armand, it was just a joke. A joke, Armand repeated, mocking someone who earns an honest living. Suddenly he walked to Zaid's desk, picked up the golden-sealed envelope, and slid it into his coat pocket. Then he turned back. I have tolerated your arrogance for years, Zaid, Armand said, but today you crossed a line. Zaid's face paled. Crossed a line? Armand, you and I are partners. Not anymore. The words came out like a verdict. Maria gasped. Zaid staggered. Why, you're dissolving our partnership because of her. Armand didn't even blink. Because of you. Zaid began to panic. Armand, listen, this is irrational, extreme. No, Armand said. What's extreme is a man claiming to run a world-class institution, yet failing to treat a single employee with respect. The door opened just then and two executives from Hassan Global stepped in. They paused, sensing the tension. Armand spoke clearly, so everyone could hear. As of this moment, I am withdrawing all my investments, my board seat, and my financial backing from Hassan Global, effective immediately. Zaid stumbled backward, gripping the desk. You can't do that. I can, Armand corrected, and I already have. Maria stood frozen, shocked, confused, a little terrified. Then Armand looked at her again. You, he said softly, are coming with me. Maria's eyes widened. Me, why? Because people like you, he said simply, are exactly the kind of people this world needs more of. Zaid lunged forward. Armand, you can't take my staff. Armand gave him a chilling smile. Watch me. He extended his hand toward Maria. She stared at it. Her life was about to change in a way she had never imagined. Not when she picked up the envelope, not when she climbed to the 29th floor, and certainly not when she was humiliated for being honest. Slowly, with trembling fingers, she placed her hand in his. Armand nodded once. Let's go. And together, they walked out of the office, leaving behind a millionaire who finally understood what it meant to lose something valuable. Maria followed Armand Malik down the polished hallway, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. Moments ago, she had been a janitor returning a lost envelope. Now she was walking beside one of the most powerful men in the business world. She didn't understand what was happening, why he was helping her, what he wanted with her, or what this meant for her job. As they stepped into the elevator, she finally whispered, Sir, I don't want to cause any trouble. You don't need to involve yourself because of me. I just wanted to return something that wasn't mine. Armand looked at her with calm, sincere eyes. And that, he said, is exactly why I'm involving myself." She blinked, confused. He continued, "Most people would have ignored the envelope. Others would have opened it or tried to profit from it. But you protected it. You risked your time and dignity to return it despite knowing someone like Zaid might not even appreciate it." Maria lowered her gaze. "I didn't do anything special, sir." "You did," he said quietly. "You did something very few people do anymore. You acted with integrity." The elevator reached the ground floor. They stepped out into the lobby, lined with chandeliers, velvet carpets, expensive suits, and the kind of silence that only wealth could buy. Every employee who saw Armand stiffened. Every guest whispered. But Maria, she felt small again, dwarfed by everything around her. Armand noticed. "You're uncomfortable," he observed. "No, sir, I'm just not used to all this." "You will be," he said. Her heart skipped, "Sir." But he didn't explain, not yet. The car ride. Outside the entrance, a sleek black sedan waited, gleaming under the sunlight. The chauffeur stepped out and opened the door respectfully. "Sir." Armand nodded, then looked at Maria. "Please," he said gently. Maria hesitated. She had never sat in a luxury car before. She had never even touched one. But Armand waited patiently, giving her space rather than commanding her. She slipped inside. The interior smelled of leather and something warm, cedar maybe. She didn't know. Everything felt unreal. As the car began moving, she finally gathered the courage to ask, "Sir, where are we going?" "To my office," he said. Her breath caught. Your main office, but why? I don't work there, I'm just—" "You're not just anything," he cut in gently. "And as of today, your life is about to change." She stared at him, bewildered. He took out the envelope again, tapping it lightly against his knee. "This deed," he said, "was not only important, it was crucial. Billions are involved, hundreds of jobs, a massive development project. Had it fallen into the wrong hands, the damage would have been catastrophic." Maria went silent, realizing the weight of what she had unknowingly protected. Armand continued, "I trust very few people. But today, someone I didn't know, someone the world would consider powerless, proved more reliable than men in suits, ties, and imported watches." Maria shook her head. "But sir, I didn't do anything extraordinary." A faint smile touched his lips. "Only honest people say that." The new job. Armand's headquarters was a towering glass building that sparkled under the sun. The lobby alone was larger than her entire neighborhood. Executives greeted him with reverence. Nobody questioned why a janitor walked beside him. They reached the top floor. Armand opened the door to a spacious office, not his, but smaller and quieter. It overlooked the sea. "What is this?" Maria asked softly. "Your new workplace," he replied. Her heart thudded. My what? Armand stepped aside and let her explore the room. A desk, a computer, neatly arranged stationery, a soft chair, sunlight pouring in through the windows. "Sir, I don't understand." "I am hearing you," he said, "as my executive assistant." Maria froze. Her mouth parted, but no words came out. "Your job," Armand continued, "will be to manage important documents, oversee schedules, ensure meetings run smoothly, and work directly under me. You will receive full training. You will earn a respectable salary, enough to support your mother and brother without worry." Maria's throat tightened. Why me?" He looked at her, steady and sincere. "Because I trust you," he said, "and trust is more valuable than any degree on a wall." Tears filled her eyes. She turned away quickly, wiping them before they could fall. "I can learn," she whispered. "I promise I will try my best." "I know you will," he said. The HR director entered with paperwork. Everything was prepared, almost suspiciously fast. Maria hesitated before signing. "Sir, what about my job at the hotel, my supervisor. Armand shook his head gently. I already handled it. They were informed you won't be returning. Maria blinked so fast. He gave a small smile. Some things are easier for people like me. She finally signed. A new chapter began. The CONSEQNCES. While Maria spent her afternoon training, something very different was happening back at Hassan Global Finance. News spread like wildfire. ARMAN, Malik TRMNATS partnership with ZAYD HASSAN. HASSAN Global STOCKS, sink 18% in 6 hours. Investor confidence drops as Malik Enterprises pulls out. Board members stormed into Zaid's office. His phone rang nonstop. Reporters, investors, angry partners. Everything he had built began to crumble in real time. And it all started with one envelope. One woman. One moment of arrogance. By evening, Zaid stared at the city skyline through his office window. The laugh he once used so freely now gone from his throat. Because of her, he kept whispering, because of her. But deep down, he knew the truth. It wasn't because of her. It was because of himself. The dinner. When Maria finished her training for the day, she expected to be sent home. Instead, Armand appeared outside her office. Come, he said, you must be hungry. Oh no, sir, it's okay, I can eat at home. I insist, he said gently. They went to a quiet restaurant overlooking the water. Nothing fancy, nothing showy, soft lighting, warm atmosphere. They sat across from each other. Maria still felt nervous. Sir, she said softly, may I ask something? Of course. You could have hired anyone, someone educated, someone from a better background, someone who didn't clean floors for a living. Why me? Armand set down his fork and looked at her directly. Because when I started, he said quietly, I was exactly where you are. Maria blinked. You. I wasn't born rich, Maria. My father was a driver. My mother worked as a housemaid. I know what it means to be underestimated, to be talked down to be treated as invisible. She swallowed. I didn't know. People rarely do, he said. I worked hard, but I also survived on the kindness of one person who believed in me when they had no reason to. He paused. And today I saw that same spirit in you. Maria felt her eyes warm again. Sir, thank you. No, he said gently, thank you. They ate in comfortable silence after that, the kind of silence that didn't feel heavy. For the first time in years, Maria felt safe. A month later, Maria walked into the office with a confidence she didn't know she had inside her. Her clothes were neatly pressed, her hair tied in a clean braid. She greeted staff with a polite smile, and they all greeted her back with respect. She managed schedules flawlessly now. She handled documents worth billions. She traveled with Armand to meetings. She grew. She changed. But she never forgot who she was. One afternoon, as she was organizing files in her office, Armand knocked on the door. Yes, sir. He stepped inside, holding a folder. Maria, he said, I want you to manage something important. She straightened. Of course, what is it? He handed her the folder. The logo on it read, MALIK Foundation, Community Housing Project. Inside were designs for affordable apartment complexes, healthcare centers, and schools. Maria's heart raced. This, Armand said softly, is the project your honesty saved. She gasped. And I want you to oversee the community outreach side. Your insights, your experiences, they matter. You know what real people need. Maria clutched the folder to her chest. Sir, I don't know what to say. He smiled warmly. Say you'll help me change lives. Maria took a deep breath. I will, she whispered. I promise. One final meeting. Weeks later, During a major business forum, Maria accompanied Arman as his assistant. A familiar voice suddenly called from behind. "Maria!" She turned. Zaid Hassan stood there, thinner, drained, humbled. His empire had shrunk, his influence had withered, but the arrogance in his eyes was gone. He approached cautiously. "I wanted to apologize," he said quietly, "for how I treated you that day. I lost everything because of my pride, but honestly, I deserved it." Maria didn't feel satisfaction, only calm. "Thank you for apologizing," she said gently. "I hope things get better for you." Zaid nodded, surprised by her grace. Then he turned to Arman. "You were right about her," he said. "I was blind and stupid." Arman simply replied, "I hope you've learned something." "I have," Zaid whispered, "more than I expected." He walked away. Maria exhaled slowly. Arman looked at her. "You handled that well." "I only did what felt right," she said. He nodded. "That's what you always do." Epilogue: the envelope that changed everything. Months turned into a year. Maria became one of the most trusted members of Arman Malik's team. She moved her mother into a comfortable apartment. Her brother enrolled in a good school. Her life transformed, yet her heart remained the same. One day, as she cleaned her new office desk, she found something under a stack of documents. A cream-colored envelope. The same one. Golden seal. Smooth paper. The envelope that changed her destiny. Attached was a small note in Arman's handwriting. "Some things are worth more than money. Thank you for reminding me." Maria smiled softly, touched the envelope with gratitude, and placed it gently in her drawer, its rightful place. Not because it belonged to her, but because it was a reminder that one honest act, one small choice, one simple decision could rewrite an entire life. And she, Maria Khan, was proof of that.